Let's talk about the quarterbacks in the 2025 NFL draft class. Now, this is more so of an open forum video. I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. Who do you have as your top 5 quarterbacks in this draft class? And who do you think is the best quarterback in the 2025 NFL draft? I'm going to say this as a quick disclaimer. This is not one of the strongest quarterback classes that we have seen. This reminds me a lot of that quarterback class that had Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis, and Kenny Pickett. I think that it's better talent in this pool, but at the same time, you're not going to find true franchise quarterbacks in the 5th, 6th, or 7th round, like how the San Francisco 49ers were able to do with Brock Purdy. It's a chance that you may find a quarterback in this draft class. You put him in the right situation, he may stand out. But you're definitely not going to find a Jaden Daniels, a Bo Nix, or Caleb Williams, a Bryce Young, or a CJ in this class. Not to say that these quarterbacks all suck, but the talent isn't there, and the production was not the best this season coming outside of college this year. So let's not waste so much time. Let's just jump straight into it. Number 5 on my list is Jalen Milroe. Now, the reason why I have Jalen Milroe at number 5, the athletic ability is amazing. He's the best quarterback in this class in terms of running in the open field. He reminds me a lot of Lamar Jackson, Michael Vick, Malik Willis in terms of when you get in open field, you're at his mercy. He can make you miss. He can run you over. He is a big athletic specimen, standing at 6'2", 228 pounds. And he was a phenomenal runner at Alabama. We look at what he was able to do in 2023, 531 rushing yards, 12 rushing touchdowns. 2024, 20 rushing touchdowns, 726 rushing yards. He averaged 4.3 yards a carry. And I'm not going to come on here and say that he should translate over to the running back position. He should transfer over to that position. I don't think that he should. I think that you continue to chase that dream. He wants to be a starting quarterback. I'm going to support him through it. Same thing I did with Lamar Jackson. Same thing I did with Malik Willis. You don't have to go out there and switch your position. The reason why he is so low on this list with having those rushing numbers, he fumbles the football at a high rate. 24 fumbles in the last 2 years. Not only just that, he is the most inconsistent passer in this draft class. He cannot pass the football at a consistent rate down the field, and especially 15 and 20 yards. The intermediate routes, he was terrible. When I look at Jalen Milroe, eventually in the NFL, you have to pass the football at least just a little bit. I can easily see him being a starter for a team. If the starter was to go out for a couple weeks, they push him in to be the starting quarterback. NFL defenses, they'll take away the run. They're going to force him to operate inside the pocket. He just can't do it at an elite level. Not saying that he won't be able to. I can see a team like the Green Bay Packers. Now they do have Malik Willis, but I can see them drafting a quarterback like Jalen Milroe if he's available in the 4th or the 5th round, develop him and ship him off to a different team. And we've seen the Packers do this in the past. They can develop quarterbacks at a high rate. I look at Sean McVay and the Los Angeles Rams. You may want to select a guy like Jalen Milroe in the 3rd or 4th round. The Philadelphia Eagles, they may need a backup behind Jalen Hurts. You put in a guy like Jalen Milroe. He would fit very nicely in that system. But I don't see too many coaches in the NFL that can really go out there and develop him as a passer. You're going to need a special guru to go out there and look out for that in the 4th or the 5th round if he is still available. But I can see a team in the 3rd round, they may fall in love with the intangibles, with Jalen Milroe, and with that athletic ability. All those rushing stats that I just listed off. In 2023, 23 passing touchdowns to 6 interceptions, 2,834 passing yards. In 2024, he took a major step back. Now, granted, Nick Saban retired. You brought in a brand new head coach, but this head coach did a great job with Michael Penix Jr., and he helped him become a 1st-round pick. 16 passing touchdowns to 11 interceptions. 2,844 passing yards. It's just the passing. If he was just an okay, solid passer, he would easily be a top 3 quarterback. Hell, he may even be the number 1 quarterback in this draft class because of that athletic ability. Because I can see scouts coming out and saying, you know what, he could be the next Josh Allen. He could be a guy that we can mold into being a quarterback of that caliber. But it is so hard to do that. How many Josh Allens have you seen enter the NFL? Guys that struggle, and then the next thing you know, year 3, year 4, they pop off. Jalen Milroe as an athlete, phenomenal. As a quarterback from inside the pocket, he makes too many crazy plays. He's not good against the blitz, and against cover 3, he was terrible this season. But the redeeming qualities are the fact that he can rush outside the pocket and he can throw off his back foot and he can throw deep down the field. He has a beautiful deep ball. But if he can work on everything else, which is easier said than done, he could be a superstar in the NFL. But I'm colder on Jalen Milroe than other guys, but he is my 5th quarterback in this draft class. Coming in at number 4, I have McCord, quarterback from Syracuse. Now, this is very interesting. Many people may have just thought that he was just a starting quarterback with Syracuse all the way through with his collegiate career. That was not the case. He was with The Ohio State University, and he was more so of a game manager at Ohio State. Then he transfers over to Syracuse. This is the thing with him. He was not a good quarterback at The Ohio State University. Let's just be honest here. And basically, you could say that Ryan Day, he sabotaged him. I looked at him a lot. I looked at film with him. I saw what he was able to do with Ohio State. It wasn't pretty. So he transfers over to Syracuse. He was their best offensive player every single week. They lived by him and they died by him also. He had a terrible game this previous season. He had 5 interceptions against Pittsburgh. 5 interceptions. If you do this in the NFL, you won't make it out. But on the year, 4,779 passing yards, 34 passing touchdowns to 12 interceptions. He should have at least had 15 to 16 interceptions this previous season. And I'm being nice. It was a lot of drop picks on the film. So what makes him the number 4 quarterback in this draft class? The good moments are great moments with him because they asked him to do so much at Syracuse. He can get outside the pocket. He can make some smooth throws. Now, he is not going to go out there and scramble all over the place. The athleticism is not there. He could pick up 3 to 4 yards. But he's not going to go out there and get a long rush of 15 to 20 yards. It's just not going to happen. He doesn't have that athletic ability, but he has a solid arm. He can read certain defenses against man coverage. He was very good. He could put the ball right to where certain defenders can't get to it. When he is hot, he's red hot. But when he is cold, he is cold. He reminds me so much of Taylor Heineke. Because Taylor Heineke will go out there in the NFL for a couple of games. He may get red hot. Hell, he went to the playoffs a few years ago against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And he had a solid outing. I can see McCord being that type of quarterback. He should not be a starter day one. And I can see him lasting a very long time in the NFL as a career backup. But in terms of him being a franchise quarterback, I just don't see it. The key fits with him would be a team like the San Francisco 49ers. A team like the Los Angeles Rams to where he could come in and he could be a backup. And I can see a lot of coaches going out there and scratching their heads and saying, you know what? We'll take a flyer on him. If our quarterback goes down, we could bring him in. He'll be a cheap backup on a rookie deal. You have a lot of moments to where he looks like Jameis Winston. He'll go out there for a couple plays and you'll say, hey, we have a franchise quarterback. And then the next drive, he'll throw a pick six. That's the one thing with McCord. But he has the arm. He has the size. The athleticism is not there, but he can operate from inside the pocket at a high level at times. It's just not consistent enough. But the turnover-worthy plays, they bother the hell out of me. He had more turnover-worthy plays than Jalen Milroe. According to PFF, he had the most turnover-worthy plays in this draft class for all the quarterbacks, including Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, and Jackson Dart. But they came with a lot of big plays. He could be the next Will Levis, and he doesn't have the arm power of a Will Levis, but those turnover-worthy plays, they could come back and they could bite you. But you put him into the right system, he could work out. But I don't ever see him being a consistent starter in the NFL, just my opinion. The number 3 quarterback that I have is Jackson Dart from Ole Miss. Jackson Dart is a very good prospect. He's a definition of a coach's son. He will go out there and do everything that you ask him to do on the field. If it's a predetermined read, he'll get it there. If he has to swim through certain muddy pockets, he can do that. The thing is with Jackson Dart, he doesn't have those splash wild plays like a Shedeur Sanders has, and the same with a Cam Ward. But he has solid arm power, and we saw many times this year that he could put Ole Miss on his back. The one problem that I have with Jackson Dart, those predetermined reads can really piss you off. And there was a lot of games this year to where it worked out, and to other situations to where it didn't. He will throw down the field if it's 3 safeties, if it's 3 defensive backs, on one wide receiver. We saw that many times this year. because it's a predetermined read. He will get impatient at times. He'll just take a deep shot. You can't do that at the NFL level. Now, you can coach this out of players, but I look at the arm strength. I look at the athleticism, and he's sneaky athletic. I think that he could be taken in the first round, but I do have a late second round, early third round grade on him as a whole. I think if he goes to the New York Jets, you let him sit a couple of years behind Tyrod Taylor, you could be getting a solid starter. But he's not going to wow you every single time that you watch him. He is just a definition of a very good quarterback at the college level. But his bad moments, man, they're bad. They're not like Kyle McCord. You may only get a play or two out of a game from Jackson Dart. You may get 5 or 6 of those plays out of Kyle McCord. But when you look at Jackson Dart, even with those turnover plays that make you scratch your head and make you want to pull your hair out, they come with some big time reward. 29 passing touchdowns and 6 interceptions for 4,279 passing yards. There's something there with him. There's a lot of talent there. And I keep coming back to this team over and over again. I look at the New Orleans Saints. He reminds me a lot of Derek Carr. I think if you sit him behind Derek Carr for a year or two with Kellen Moore, who has been a very good offensive coordinator, I think that would be a seamless transition with the New Orleans Saints. But they have Spencer Rattler right there. So I do believe a QB needy team, you may not want to take him in the first round. I'm just going to say that now. If it's a team like the Jets, don't take him in the first round. If it's the Raiders, don't take him in the first round. But if he's available to be there in the second or third round, that's when you take him. Because like I mentioned before, this is not a strong quarterback draft class. But I look at the Raiders, I think that would be a very good spot. They go into the first round, they draft a defensive player, they draft an offensive player. If they don't already have their quarterback, you have Chip Kelly, you have Pete Carroll. You spend all that money in free agency. You sit him down for majority of his rookie season or his entire rookie season, and then you swing him in to the Raiders and you have him sit behind a veteran like a Russell Wilson or even a guy like Aiden O'Connell. I think that he has more upside than Aiden O'Connell, but he needs to sit, he needs to work on his decision making, and he needs to work on his accuracy down the field. And this is the one problem that I have a lot of Lane Kiffin offenses coming over from college to the NFL level. Gimmicky offenses. It was a lot of times where wide receivers being schemed open. He was not always constantly throwing wide receivers open over and over again. And that's not a major problem because we've seen with quarterbacks in the past like Jaden Daniels, like Joe Burrow, every single game they were not throwing their wide receivers open. Their wide receivers were just that damn good. But when I look at the Lane Kiffin system, he's scheming wide receivers open because he's a great offensive coach at the college level. That does concern me because a lot of those quarterbacks that come over to the NFL, it's a predetermined read or they're looking for the guys to get open, and then you miss that space of opportunity because the windows are tighter in the NFL. So I do believe that Jackson Dart will be successful when it comes into going to the right situation, but I think that he has a low ceiling and he has a high floor. I don't see him going out there and averaging 2 interceptions a game. I see him being a solid starter. You can make him be that Brock Purdy type of quarterback. You have the right pieces around him, but don't sleep on Jackson Dart. I think that he could be a solid quarterback in the NFL for a couple of years. Now, this is where we get into my first round territory. I have a first round grade on both of these quarterbacks. Now, I had the pleasure of going to the Shrine Bowl. I did not go to the Senior Bowl. I did not go to the Combine, but I did go to the Shrine Bowl. And I asked a lot of questions, and I got a lot of responses. When it comes to this quarterback, I'm talking about Shedeur Sanders here. He's my number 2 quarterback, and I have him as a top 10 player in this draft class because of his position, because of the quarterback position. As we know in the NFL, if you don't have a quarterback, you have nothing. And when I asked the question, is he really a first round pick? Do you see him as a top 5 pick? A lot of scouts said yes. Some scouts said no. Some scouts said they would take him in the second round. But if they needed a quarterback and they could not get one in free agency, they would take him in the first round. I think that Shedeur Sanders is the second best quarterback in this draft class, but he's the most accurate quarterback in this draft class. The reason why he's number 2 and he's not number 1 is because he does not have the athletic ability like my number 1 quarterback in this class we'll talk about in the next few minutes. But I look at Shedeur Sanders, phenomenal prospect. I love the confidence. I know that he's getting a red flag right now by certain scouts. Guys, please be cautious with this. A lot of scouts come out, they dog out these quarterbacks because they really want the quarterbacks to come and fall down to them. Shedeur Sanders is an elite prospect. Does he have the strongest arm? No. Is he the biggest quarterback? No, even though he is gaining weight. but that accuracy is insane. The fact that he never got to play behind a good offensive line at the college level and he still produced the numbers that he did, I loved it. We saw him at Jackson State, which is the unconventional route for quarterbacks. I know that Steve McNair went to HBCU. That was many, many years ago. And Steve McNair was a very good quarterback at the NFL level. But usually, when you look at quarterbacks, they come from Alabama. They'll come from a USC, Oklahoma. You don't see too many quarterbacks that are elite at the high school level go over to HBCU. And this is what Shedeur Sanders did. He went to HBCU. He wanted to be coached by his dad at Jackson State. And in 2021, 30 passing touchdowns to 8 interceptions. He did get sacked 35 times. In 2020, that was 2021. In 2022, 40 passing touchdowns and 6 interceptions. He got sacked 23 times. The one thing that I will say about Shedeur Sanders, from his freshman year all the way up to his senior year, he will hold on to the football for a very long time. And it does come with a lot of bad sacks. But you can't sit here and tell me that he got to play behind a great offensive line. We've seen quarterbacks in the past come out of USC, come out of Alabama, come out of these power schools. They got to play behind a very good offensive line. And they still were not able to put up some of the numbers that Shedeur Sanders were able to put up. Now, granted, the HBCU level is not the same level as a Georgia, as a Alabama. I fully understand that. But to see Shedeur Sanders go out there and constantly throw his wide receivers open over and over again, it was great to see. But he has to get the football out quicker. You can't be back there all day patting the football and just waiting for guys to get open. You have to let the football go. And the interception numbers, they're going to be low because he would throw the football away or he would take a bad sack. You can't do that at the NFL level. We've seen this with certain quarterbacks. That is a drive killer. If it's first or second down, you take a sack and it knocks you out of field goal range, you can't have that. Now you're trying to get those chunk plays to get back into the script. When I look at Shedeur Sanders, calm down. The big play is not there. Take what the defense gives you. And if your wide receivers aren't open, don't try to always throw them open at the NFL level because you're going to get in trouble. These NFL players, they're not college freshmen. They're not sophomores. They're not juniors. We're talking about the best of the best. If you do this against guys like Jalen Ramsey, Derek Stingley Jr., Patrick Surtain, they will make you pay. It's a lot of times where he trusts his arm too much because he doesn't have elite arm power. He doesn't have a noodle arm, but it's not elite arm power. I compare it to Teddy Bridgewater when he first came out of Louisville many years ago when he went to the Minnesota Vikings, and he was a very good quarterback prospect. But when I look at Shedeur Sanders, don't trust that arm all the time. Go out there and try to pick up some plays with your legs, and the athletic ability is there. He's not a runner of the football like a Lamar Jackson, like a Josh Allen, like a Jalen Hurts, but he doesn't have to be. He reminds me a lot of Brock Purdy with his athleticism. And we've seen Brock Purdy go out there and he'll get some sneaky good yards and then he'll slide down. He's a smart quarterback. He can read defenses and he knows the game because of his dad, Deion Sanders. You could say that it's a negative because Deion Sanders has always been in his corner. I look at it as a positive. I love when parents come out and they support their kids. Deion Sanders is one of the best defensive players that the NFL has ever seen. He's telling his kid, hey, this is cover 3. This is disguised cover 4. And a lot of times you look at Shedeur Sanders pre-snap, he's elite because he knows what the defense are going to try to do to him. He slides the offensive line protection. There was so many things he was able to do at the line of scrimmage this year at Colorado. And he got to play in an NFL type of system with Pat Shurmur as his offensive play caller. He has NFL talent all around him in terms of coaching. And he did get to play with Jimmy Horn. He got to play with Travis Hunter. Very good wide receivers. So it's going to be very interesting to see where it goes. I think the natural fit with him would be a team like the New York Giants. They have Malik Neighbors. They need to work in their offensive line, but they have Coach Dable, who has been a very good offensive coach in the past. As a head coach, the jury is still out. And I look at the Cleveland Browns. I think that would be a very good fit with Kevin Stefanski. You do worry about his arm in cold weather, but people said the same thing about Brock Purdy. And we've seen Brock Purdy go on the road and have impressive games in cold weather. I like Shedeur Sanders a lot. He's a slam dunk first round pick for me. And I don't see him sliding past number 5. I know the dream fit would be him going to the Las Vegas Raiders. I can see the Raiders trying to trade up to get him. But he's my number 2 quarterback in this draft class. And when I look at that last season, 37 passing touchdowns and 10 interceptions, 4,134 passing yards. He was great under pressure. He was amazing against the blitz. He just has to get the football out quicker. And unfortunately, that's one of the hardest things to coach as the NFL coach, because when we're watching the game on our couch, when we're watching the game from the sideline, we see things differently. But that quarterback may be saying, man, if I just had a second or two, I can rip the football to him. That's the player mentality. And I know a lot of quarterbacks, they beat themselves up. You look on the sidelines, a lot of times where quarterbacks, they get upset. They have to take 3. But Shedeur Sanders has to learn. Hits in college are way different from the NFL. And he got injured in his first year with Colorado because of those injuries. A lot of the sacks are not his fault. But some of those sacks, just got to get the football out quicker. Screen passes. Warm him up to the NFL, but he could play right now, in my opinion. And he did very good in a muddy pocket. My number 1 quarterback, and I've said this 3-4 months ago, I'm going to say it again. It's Cam Ward out of Miami. I love me some Cam Ward. Now, I'm not saying he's a generational talent, but I'm a huge fan of Cam Ward. 0-star recruit coming out of high school. Him and his dad, they were emailing teams trying to find a place for him to go. He only had one offer. One offer. When I look at Shedeur Sanders, he was a blue chip coming out to high school level. But when I look at Cam Ward, he took the unconventional route. Wing T offense at the high school level, really wasn't even playing quarterback, if we're going to be honest here. When you're in the wing T, you're handing that football off. You may throw the football 10 to 15 times a game. And guess what those passes are? Behind the line of scrimmage. Bunch of screen passes. And that's if the coach likes you. But he goes to Incarnate Word Cardinals. That's where he went. That was the college that he went to. And he dominated. When I look at him his first year, 24 passing touchdowns to 4 interceptions, got sacked 17 times. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, he wasn't a traditional quarterback at the college level. He's still learning how to play this position when he was a freshman at that college. Comes back his second year. Now you will say, okay, what the hell happened? The interception numbers went up, but the touchdown numbers went up also. 47 passing touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 4,648 passing yards. But he wasn't playing against elite level competition. He wasn't. Just like how Kyle McCord, he went over to Syracuse. He wasn't playing the same competition that you would face when you're playing with the Ohio State University. So Cam Ward, he goes out there, he transfers. He goes to Washington State. And his first year, it was some struggles. 23 passing touchdowns to 9 interceptions, 3,231 passing yards. His last season with Washington State, 25 passing touchdowns to 7 interceptions, 3,735 passing yards. He could have came out in last year's draft class. And a lot of scouts had him as a 4th or a 5th round pick. But even then, I was very skeptical. I'm saying, hey, there's something here with Cam Ward. But he makes a shocking decision. He goes out there, he transfers to Miami. And his last season was his best season. 39 passing touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 4,313 passing yards. Resilient. That's what he is. He could have easily said, you know what? I give up. I'm just going to stay at my first college. I'm going to stay at UIW. It's okay. He wanted to play against elite level competition, so he transferred over and over and over again. And he really changed his game. Everywhere he has been successful. He has made the system work for him. He's a huge leader. He doesn't go out there. He doesn't complain. Even when he was playing at UIW, he was telling the coach, man, if it's okay to run the football more, let's run the football more. Don't make me the focal point of the team. That is what you want. And this is something that a lot of people in the national media aren't saying right now. He's willing to go out there and change his throwing motion. He's willing to go out there and be successful. Now, the throwing motion, it doesn't bother me. If you're comfortable, you're comfortable. If you've ever coached kids before, you ever coached grown men, whichever, if you've been a coach, you will tell your players, do what makes you comfortable. And we'll work on it from that point forward. The release, it can get a bit confusing with him. It could take a bit longer to come out, especially with that deep ball. When I look at Cam Ward, has the best deep accuracy in this draft class. He's not the most accurate quarterback. That'll be Shedeur Sanders. But in terms of athleticism, getting outside the pocket, he reminds me a lot of a quarterback that was not successful at the NFL level, but he had moments. I'm talking about Paxton Lynch here. Paxton Lynch, big time moments at Memphis when he was in college, very good player. But I look at Cam Ward, he has that similar arm power to where he can go out there and make some wild throws, but they're more consistent than Paxton Lynch. And he does have that athletic ability to where he can pick up some crucial first downs late in the fourth quarter. So I do believe that Cam Ward will be successful with all of these teams. The Tennessee Titans, the New York Giants, hell, even the New York Jets, they try to get him. He should be the first pick in this draft class to the Tennessee Titans because the rocket arm power, the athleticism. You can say that he's too cocky, he's too arrogant. I just call it confidence. And that is what you want in your quarterback. Jalen Hurts has the same type of confidence in himself. And this is what I want to see from a quarterback. Can he go out there? Can he rally the guys around him? Will he stay in the game? And that is what Cam Ward did. The couple of knocks that I have on Cam Ward, he will fumble the football in certain situations because he's trying to play hero ball. And that's that Sam Darnold effect that I compare him to at USC. Sam Darnold was a great prospect coming out of USC, but Sam Darnold played a lot of hero ball. Cam Ward will do that. If you go down in the game and you're down by 10 or more points, he's going to say, forget that. I'm going to put the team on my back. I'm willing to go out there and do this for my team. The NFL level, you're going to go to a bad team because they have top picks in the draft class. It's very rare to see a team with this first, second, third, or fourth pick be a very good franchise, be a very good football team the previous season. It's the reason why they have top picks in this draft class. But look at Cam Ward. Give him time. He can play right now, but that arm power is going to get him over. I think that he can be more consistent from inside the pocket with the footwork adjustments, and the athleticism is there. I think if you develop him in the right way, you could be getting a top 10 quarterback in the NFL for the next 2 to 3 years. I don't see a quarterback coming over in this draft class, and I hope that I'm wrong, and having the success that CJ and Jalen Daniels has had in the last 2 years. And that's okay. I'm going to compare these quarterbacks to themselves. So I look at Shedeur Sanders, I look at Cam Ward. I have a first round grade on both of them. They're both top players in this draft class for me, especially in the top 10 because they play the quarterback position. Jackson Dart, late second round grade, early third round grade. Cal McCord, I can see him going in the 4th or the 5th round. When it comes to Jalen Milroe here, once again, the athletic ability is going to push him over the top. Do not be surprised if a team takes him in the 3rd round because of the athletic ability that he has. But I wish all these quarterbacks nothing but success. I know there's a lot of honorable mentions that I can get into, like Dylan Gabriel, who got to play for Oregon. I liked him a lot at the college level. Very undersized in my opinion. The arm power is not there, but the anticipation, the accuracy, it's there. And he has been successful every single place that he has been. We got to see him with Oklahoma. We got to see him with Oregon. You look at Quinn Ewers. I am not a big fan of Quinn Ewers coming out of Texas. I think that Quinn Ewers will be taken in the 5th or 6th round. Personally, when I look at Quinn Ewers, he had some okay moments, but he had a lot of bad moments. And if you are a fan of Texas, it's ours time. So be happy that Quinn Ewers is no longer there, even though he did do some solid things for that Texas program. But I look at Quinn Ewers, I look at Dylan Gabriel. The biggest wild card in this draft class to me will be Will Howard for The Ohio State University. Do not be surprised if the Raiders go out there and they select him in the 3rd or 4th round. If they don't try to get a guy like Jackson Dart, if he is not there in the 2nd or 3rd, they're going to take Will Howard because of the connection with Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly's the former offensive coordinator with Ohio State, and they just won a national championship. The thing is this with Will Howard, because I don't watch the combine. I don't put much time into the combine. You're in T-shirts and you're in shorts. But I did see the clips going around on Twitter. I did see them going around on X, whichever name you want to call it. They were basically dogging Will Howard, saying that he's a terrible prospect. He's horrible. He's nothing without Ibuka. He's nothing without Jeremiah Smith. I will say this about Will Howard. And this is why a lot of quarterbacks do not participate in the combine anymore when they're top names like Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. You're not working with your wide receivers. You're working with different wide receivers. And every wide receiver is different, down to the T. Some run their routes faster. Some come out there break a little slower. Will Howard does not have the rocket arm power. He's not an athletic quarterback. But just because he did not perform well at the combine in T-shirts and shorts, do not take that away. Do not take this away from him. He still won a national championship, and he was awesome in the college football playoffs. So I could see him going into the NFL draft and having a chip on his shoulder. But this quarterback class, it's not the weakest that we have seen, but it's definitely not the best. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you feel about my quarterback rankings and anything that you would change in this video. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless.